blustery late November wind greets 100 Dartmouth football players at Franklin Field November 21st. But the team doesn't even feel the cold. A victory over Pennsylvania gives the squad a share of the 1981 Ivy League title, its second in 4 years. And to a man, the players and coaching staff know what they have to do. Determination can be read in the faces of the entire team, who can't take anything for granted against the Quakers. Before the day is over, Dartmouth will win its 12th Ivy League football title, more than any other league team, and bring the Ivy League trophy back to Hanover. 1981, an Ivy championship season. Dartmouth opens the 1981 campaign against Princeton, September 19th in Hanover. The Tigers strike early. Larry Van Pelt for a 19-yard touchdown run and a 7-0 Princeton lead. Late in the first quarter, Dartmouth comes back. Quarterback Rick Stafford rolls right and keeps for 5. Then Stafford pitches to Dennis Runk for 12 to the Princeton 28-yard line. Now Stafford will drop back and look over the field. He finds wide receiver John Olenichek wide open and hits him to keep the Dartmouth drive alive. The Big Green scores when tailback Sean Marr goes for the touchdown. Blocks by Buck Foote, Sean Tevens, and Rich Lena. The point-after attempt is wide, and Princeton leads 7-6. But Dartmouth scores twice in the second quarter. Stafford fakes and throws a screen pass to Runk. He takes it to the 22-yard line. Blocks up front by co-captain All-East George Thompson and center Mark Perry. Stafford pitches to Marr, who takes it from the 23-yard line with outstanding blocking by Stafford to spring the tailback. Later in the period, safety Barry Pizer punts to the Princeton 12 with a tackle made by Dennis Runk. Great special teams coverage. And the Dartmouth defense holds. ECAC honor roll linebacker Joe Fernandez stops Van Pelt. Scott Hacker, team MVP, blocks this punt, and Pizer recovers in the end zone for the Dartmouth touchdown. Now the two-point conversion pass to Olenichek is good for a 20-7 lead. In the third quarter, Dartmouth scores on a safety. Now Pizer punts out of bounds at the Princeton 2-yard line. A great coffin corner kick. On defense, Rob Carroll sacks Bob Holly for the safety. The defense stops the Tigers in third quarter action. Holly on play action, back to pass. But it's intercepted by Fernandez. Dartmouth goes on to score in the fourth quarter. Stafford hits flanker Sean Tevens on the 37-yard touchdown strike. Great catch. And a happy Coach Yukika receives the post-game congratulations. The Massachusetts game turns into a defensive struggle after some early scores. The Minutemen score when Pearson takes it in from the 9 on an option play. Then it's 10-0 UMass on this field goal later in the first quarter after the Dartmouth defense stalls a drive. It remains 10-0 for most of the game until a late fourth quarter Dartmouth rally. Peter Lavery returns this punt to give the Green excellent field position. Then it's Runk up the middle behind sophomore tackle Tom Broadhead for a good gain. Quarterback Stafford rolls back to throw. Isn't anybody there? So he scrambles for 9 yards. And showing some fancy footwork again, Stafford avoids the rush. And he hits sophomore Matty Lopes for the touchdown. Bullseye. Now Stafford hits Lopes for the two-point conversion and a slim 10-8 UMass lead. Dartmouth has a final chance in the last seconds of the game, but they can't connect on this Stafford bomb. In the third week of the season, Dartmouth loses a 28-0 non-conference game to a rejuvenated Holy Cross team that pushes Yale to the limit the following week before bowing 29-28. On October 10th, Dartmouth hosts William & Mary. The Green co-captains, Kent Cooper and George Thompson, are ready for action. William & Mary settles for an early field goal when the Green defense holds. The Green defense does it again as Rob Carroll breaks up this Chris Garrity pass. Nice defensive play. Laszlo Mickmeyer connects on a 21-yard field goal for William & Mary. And Mickmeyer makes it again, 6-0 on this second quarter field goal. Dartmouth scores in the second period to take the lead. Rich Lena for the touchdown behind the blocks of Ken Faree and Buck Foote. And Guybolt's point-after touchdown makes it 7-6 Dartmouth. The Green drives in the third quarter when disaster strikes. Stevens on a flanker reverse for 13. And then Stafford hits Lena on a screen pass to move the ball to the William & Mary 43-yard line. Well set up with some blocking out in front. But on this play, a scrambling Stafford is lost for the season. He scrambles to the right, breaks it back against the grain to the left. On this hit, he suffers a knee injury that knocks him out for the year. William & Mary scores to make it 12-7, and although Dartmouth has late-game opportunities for a comeback, the squad falls short. It's on to Harvard and Cambridge, October 17th, and with a 1-0 Ivy League mark, Dartmouth is in the thick of the league race. Dartmouth takes the opening kickoff and moves to its own 33 when sophomore quarterback Frank Paulsonello, starting for injured Rick Stafford, gets in trouble. Paulsonello hits split end Jack Daly, but the ball bounces off Daly's hands into the grasp of a Harvard defender. The Dartmouth defense holds. Ron Kusia is pressured by Rob Carroll, Craig Hypes, and Lee Sedbury and throws incomplete. The Crimson has to settle for a field goal. It's up and good. On Dartmouth's next series, Paulsonello is intercepted again. Rocky Delgadillo steps in front of Stevens for the interception. Harvard scores, but those are to be the Crimson's final points. Paul Shepper on the halfback option pass for the touchdown and a 10-0 lead. Dartmouth on the move now. Sean Marr behind Foote, Faree, and Tom Bruno for 16 yards. Then it's Paulsonello warming up to the task as he hits sophomore Jack Daly for 9 yards. Sophomore fullback Tom Bruno up the middle to start the second quarter behind Paul Fetchelfolder, John Merriman, and All-East George Thompson. Now it's Paulsonello again to the air, this time to Sean Stevens. And Bruno plunges in for the touchdown from 1 yard out. Tim Geibel's point-after touchdown makes it only 10-7, Harvard in front. Harvard looks to retaliate, but the Dartmouth defense holds. Ron Kusia back to pass, but it's broken up by Joe Fernandez. Then Barry Pizer stops Callanan on the screen pass. Because of the good Dartmouth defense, Harvard is forced to kick. Villanueva punts away to midfield. Dartmouth takes over, and they move in for the go-ahead points. First, it's Paulsonello to Stevens for 12 yards. Nice catch. Paulsonello back to pass, finds his receivers covered. So, he takes the most direct route. He scrambles for 7 Dartmouth yards. Fourth down and 1. Marr behind Mark Faree, Thompson, and Stevens bounces off tacklers for the touchdown. And it's a 14-10 Dartmouth lead into the promised land. Harvard takes the kickoff and starts a drive. Jim Atchison is stopped by Rob Carroll with help from Joe Moore and Lee Sedbury. Jim Callanan for 2 is stopped by Joe Fernandez in Sudbury. Good, solid Dartmouth defense. Now Villanueva's 37-yard field goal attempt is wide. Dartmouth takes over, but is held deep in its own territory and forced to punt. Rick Bayless punts to midfield. The ball is stripped by tackler Steve Quinn. And Dartmouth recovers. Bill Conley the recovery at the Dartmouth 45. Then it's the Big Green for the score. Paul Sinello to Daly for 10. Marr, with a great individual effort here, goes for 8 yards. And it's Dennis Runk for 5. 3rd down and 8 at the Harvard 17. Paul Sinello, with great protection from Tom Bruno, finds Daly for a 1st down. Sean Marr, 118 yards on 28 carries on this day, goes for the touchdown with blocks by Thompson, Faree, and Faree. Geibel's point after touchdown makes it 21-10. The defense keeps Harvard at bay. Scott Hacker intercepts this Kuchya pass intended for Callanan. Joe Moore drops Kuchya for a 3-yard loss. Kuchya's got more in his hair all day long. He drops him again. This time it's a -12. And then the Green's final score in the 4th period. Paul Sinello to Stevens, a great catch, 29 yards on a leaping grab. Geibel's 22-yard field goal makes it 24-10 for the Green's 3rd consecutive victory over Harvard. Late in the game, Harvard tries to play catch-up. But sophomore linebacker Dave Furman intercepts this Don Allard pass after a great hit by Lou Grimmelbein. The win gives Dartmouth a 2-0 Ivy mark and ties the squad with Yale for the league lead. It's Dartmouth night weekend when the Green hosts the Big Red of Ithaca. Dartmouth makes it look easy with help from Cornell. On Cornell's first punt, Scott Hacker breaks through to block, and Charles Williams, an All-East selection, recovers in the end zone for the Dartmouth touchdown. A short time later, Dartmouth drives. Paul Sinello hits Stevens for 22 yards to the Cornell 49. Then it's tailback Sean Marr right up the middle for 5 yards. Up the middle again, this time Rich Lena for 44 yards. A tackle-busting touchdown run. Nothing but green grass and stripes in front of him now. Geibel's point after touchdown makes it 14-0. The defense makes it 21-0. On the kickoff coverage, watch Fran Manning with a fine open field tackle. Right there. Dave Neslin, co-captain-elect with Sean Marr, and Len Jones stop Mark Miller. Then it's Chris Metz. He's stopped by Neslin and Hypes. Steve Carroll blocks this punt, and Bill Rossi recovers in the end zone for another Dartmouth touchdown. Geibel's point after makes it 21-0. The score amounts to 28-0 in the 2nd quarter. Marr runs 44 yards for the touchdown, blocked by Dave Brown, Paul Fetchelcotter, Sean Stevens, and Tom Bruno, as Marr scoots down the sidelines for 6. Cornell scores just before the half to make it 28-7 on this touchdown pass. But the Green puts the game out of reach on a 3rd quarter touchdown drive. Paul Sinello to Marr. Marr has 140 yards rushing on this day. Now Paul Sinello puts it in the air to sophomore Matty Lopes down to the Cornell 17-yard line. Paul Sinello takes it in himself for the touchdown after a great fake by tailback Dennis Runk, number 26. Defense dominates the remainder of the game. Fusco, pressured by Moore, nearly intercepted here by Hacker. Joe Moore stops Bill Zittle with help from Lee Sedbury. In the 4th quarter, Dartmouth moves for a final score. Dave Howard completes this pass to John Olenichek. Then Howard pitches to Runk, who runs it in from the 26-yard line for a 42-7 lead. Blocks by Ben Watts, John Kenya, and Gary Spiegelman. The Big Red trying to play catch-up is forced to the air. Rick Bayless and Mac Jackson break up this pass. Davies Beller and Mark Whitman stop Terry Thomas. With pressure by Bob Della Sola, Mac Jackson intercepts this Harmon pass. Mike Lena and Chris Cogwillow drop Harmon for a loss. And Mike Whitman recovering this Harmon fumble. Coach Ukika and Coach Blackman meet for the traditional handshake following the game. The victory gives the Green a 3-0 Ivy League mark, setting up a confrontation with Yale October 31st in New Haven for the league lead. An ABC regional television audience is tuned in for the Dartmouth-Yale game. And for most of the first half, Dartmouth gives the undefeated Eli all they can handle. Yale takes the lead on this 47-yard Tony Jones field goal after the Dartmouth defense stiffens. But Dartmouth retaliates. Charles Williams picks off this John Rogan pass in the end zone. Great defensive play, and it's Dartmouth on the move. Frank Falcinello to Jack Daly with blocks by Ferree and Thompson. Excellent running after the catch. Then Falcinello to Tevens, and the senior makes a sensational grab. Tim Geibel ties the score on a 35-yard field goal. It's up, and it's good. Dartmouth has a golden opportunity minutes later. Co-captain Kent Cooper sacks John Rogan, then makes a great play to recover the football. And Dartmouth scores on the next play when Dave Brown catches a Falcinello pass. But no touchdown. The play is called back for holding. Yale appears to jump offside, and Dartmouth loses an opportunity to go ahead when Falcinello is intercepted in the end zone. But Dartmouth comes right back as it dominates the second quarter. Falcinello looks deep to Daly, and Yale is called for pass interference. On 3rd and 6 from the Yale 6, Falcinello back to pass, is sacked and fumbles. Yale recovers and moves the length of the field for the go-ahead touchdown in the final minute of the first half. Rich Diana for 12 yards. Rogan, here on a critical 3rd and long, is sacked by Cooper, Moore, and Ike Skirman. But Dartmouth is called for a face mask violation, keeping the Yale drive alive. Rogan hits his big wide receiver, Curtis Grieve, for the touchdown. In the third quarter, Dartmouth takes the kickoff and drives. It's Falcinello. Back to throw. He finds Tevens, but the senior is inches shy of a first down. Yale takes the punt and moves ahead. Halfback option pass coming up for big yardage. A saving tackle by Hacker. Then it's quarterback Rogan to Curtis Grieve on a leaping catch for the touchdown. The game goes out of reach 24-3 when on the first play after the kickoff, the Eli's defensive back Jim Campbell intercepts this pass intended for Tevens, and he races 33 yards for the score and a 24-3 Yale lead. The win gives the Eli a 4-0 Ivy mark and a one-game lead in the standings over Dartmouth with 3 weeks left in the season. On a windswept Baker Field, Dartmouth scores 21 first-half points to top the Lions 21-7 to remain a game behind Yale in league standings. On Dartmouth's first possession, it's Sean Marr, the ECAC honor roll player for the 3rd time in the season for 12 yards. The running game is hot, so they stay with it. Rich Lena bounces for 23 behind Ken Ferree and John Merriman. Then it's back to Marr again for 6 more yards behind Steve Quinn, Merriman, and Fetchel Cotter. Tough running. Peter Lavery on the option pitch takes it in for the 3-yard touchdown. After stopping the Lions, Dartmouth scores again. The handoff goes to Marr, and on a good cut inside, he picks up 8 yards. Rich Lena for 7 behind Todd Markman and tackles Steve Quinn. Tevens on a flanker reverse behind Dave Brown and Paul Fetchel Cotter. And Marr leaps the pile for the touchdown on 4th and goal. Columbia scores to make it 14-7 when it gets the ball in excellent field position. John Witkowski hits Bill Reggio on the touchdown pass for the Lions' only points of the day. And Dartmouth makes it 21-7 a short time later. Marr, in another 100-yard performance, goes for 47 yards behind guard Ike Skerman. Then it's Lavery for 10 behind Quinn, Fetchel-Cotter, and Brown. To the air this time. Paulsonello rolls back, finds Stevens. Touchdown, Dartmouth on a great catch. An overpowering 38-13 win over Brown, combined with a Princeton 35-31 upset of Yale, made Dartmouth football fans smile on an unusually mild mid-November Saturday. The victory gives the Green a shot at its 12th Ivy title, just what everyone had hoped for. Against Brown, the defense shines. Co-captain Kent Cooper and Joe Moore hit Vince Stevens, and Rob Carroll recovers at the Bruin 38. Paulsonello hits Daly on a quick screen. Then it's Marr for 10 behind Brown and Ferree. Paulsonello and Daly hook up again, this time to the Brown 4-yard line. Good pass protection by Tom Bruno and Sean Marr. And Paulsonello finds tight end Dave Brown for the 4-yard touchdown. After Brown punts later in the period, Paulsonello warms it up again. He hits Daly, who gets a springing block from Steve Quinn. Then Paulsonello himself runs for the first down as he picks up a block from Tom Bruno. Now Sean Marr. He breaks loose for a 36-yard touchdown run and a 14-0 Dartmouth lead. The block supplied by Dave Brown and Ken Ferree. Tim Geibel hits the point after touchdown. Brown gets back in the game with a score after a Dartmouth fumble. Bill Barrett for the touchdown, and it's 14-7 Dartmouth. But in the second quarter, the Dartmouth defense sets up another score. Kent Cooper and Joe Fernandez stop Rourke. Then Joe Moore causes and recovers this Hank Landers fumble. Tim Geibel drills a 40-yard field goal for a 17-7 lead. Brown is stopped again on its next possession. Charles Williams on his first of 2 pass interceptions with pressure from Mike Lena and Mark Clayton. And Dartmouth takes advantage. Paulsonello to the air, throws deep to Sean Stevens. Then Marr scoots for the touchdown behind Peter Lavery, Dave Brown, and Tom Bruno for a 24-7 halftime lead. Dartmouth takes the second half kickoff and wastes little time. Stevens hauls in this Paulsonello pass. Good pass protection by Marr and Rich Durante. Now sophomore Matty Lopes with a spectacular catch. Paulsonello for the touchdown. He looks, he scrambles, got the blocks from Jody Hubbard and Rich Durante. The defense sets up Dartmouth's last score. Mark Clayton and John Corbett stop Wayne Singleton. Then Dave Neslin breaks up this pass attempt. Pressure from Clayton. A fake punt, but Len Jones isn't fooled by the fake, and Dartmouth takes over at the Brown 26-yard line. Paulsonello on a screen pass. It's complete to Daly. Key block by Jody Hubbard. And with John Weiss protecting, it's Paulsonello to Daly for the touchdown and a 38-13 victory. A 5-1 Ivy mark going into the final game at Penn gives the Green a chance at its 12th Ivy League title. With the Ivy League title the reward for victory, Dartmouth makes short work of the Quakers on a cold and blustery Franklin Field November 21st. Dartmouth scores 10 points in the first period. The offensive line huddles around assistant coach Paul Boudreau. Tim Geibel opens the scoring, connecting on this 35-yard field goal midway through the period. Then the defense. Dave Neslin intercepts this Doug Marzoni pass, and he takes it back 32 yards. This sets up the Big Green in great field position. Bolsonello sprints out to the left, and he finds Daly over the middle for 7 yards. And Marr takes it in for the touchdown from 11 yards out behind Thompson and Bruno. Tim Geibel splits the uprights for a 10-0 Dartmouth lead. In the second quarter, Penn drives to the Dartmouth 10, chooses to go for the touchdown on 4th and a foot. But Rob Carroll shuts down the screen pass, and Lee Sedbury makes the tackle. On its next series, Penn's Rubin fumbles. Right here. And Charles Williams recovers. Clayton, Moore, and Furman force the fumble, and Dartmouth quickly puts the game out of reach. Bolsonello to Lavery for 9 yards. Then Lena bursts up the middle for 21 behind Thompson and Faree. Bolsonello now drills one to tight end Dave Brown for a 5-yard gain. And it's Lena for the touchdown behind John Merriman and Mark Faree, and a 17-0 halftime lead. In the third quarter, Penn rallies for a touchdown on this Marzoni to Carl Hall pass, but the Quakers cannot get any closer on this day. Barry Pizer ties a career interception record of 11 with this pickoff of a Marzoni pass. Again, it's Dartmouth in great field position, and Bolsonello wastes little time. First, he hits Stevens for 9. Then it's Lavery for 4 behind Faree, Thompson, and Faree. Geibel drills a 22-yard field goal and a 20-6 lead. Early in the fourth quarter, Pennsylvania gambles. On 4th and 21 from its own 10, Ed Gramigna passes to John Adams, but the play is stopped by Fran Manning and Paul Willis. Heads up defense. Again, Dartmouth doesn't waste any time. Lavery for 8 with a key block by Tom Broadhead. With good blocks by Hubbard and Bruno, it's Bolsonello to Stevens for the touchdown. But the play is called back for holding. So Dartmouth comes right back again. With protection by Broadhead, it's Bolsonello to Daly for the touchdown 2 plays later and a 26-6 lead. The game goes completely out of reach less than 30 seconds later. With quarterback pressure by Sedbury, All-East Charles Williams ties a single-season interception record of 6 when he takes this pass all the way back. 42 yards for a touchdown. Got a great block from Scott Hacker. For Dartmouth and fourth-year coach Joe Yukiko, the season ends with 5 victories in the last 6 games and his second Ivy League title since 1978. Dartmouth surprises the experts in winning a share of its 12th Ivy League crown, and a sophomore quarterback, Frank Bolsonello, who takes over at mid-season and shows the poise of a veteran, gives fans, players, and coaches optimism for the future. Dartmouth football, 1981, an even dozen, the 12th Ivy League title.